Hello, everyone. My guest today is Daniel Chait. He's the CEO and co-founder of GreenHouse, which builds software tools to help companies make recruiting a competitive advantage. Before GreenHouse, he co-founded Lab 49, a global firm providing technology consulting solutions to the world's leading investment banks. Daniel, you ready to take us to the top?
Let's do it.
All right, man. You are in a extremely competitive space. Give us an update. You were on about a year and a half ago. Where's GreenHouse today? And are you guys still pure play SaaS?
Yeah, still doing SaaS. Still having a great time growing. We had our biggest conference ever this summer, GreenHouse Open, with 1,300 or so attendees. It was a huge part of our year, and we rolled.
Where was it?
Here in New York City. We did the Javits Center, which was a big step up for us. But
that's a big space. That's a big space to fill. You got to be a celebrity, Daniel.
Those of you that don't, that haven't been in New York or don't know the space, like it's where they do the auto show and the boat show. And so, you come into like a big cavern like that, you really got to bring it. So we upped our game. We did a big rollout for business executives and business leaders called Talent Makers, which is kind of moving the idea outside of HR and into the broader business conversation around when you're a business leader, you need talent and you can't upload that to your HR team. You got to take responsibility.
Yep. Very good. Now, for those people that didn't catch your first episode on the program, put this on a timeline for us. When did you launch?
GreenHouse, we started GreenHouse in 2012, January.
Yep, 2012. And then again, last time you came on was in 2017. You said you were serving, your price point then was around kind of $18,000 ACVs. Have you held steady there, or have you generally increased or decreased?
Prices move up a little bit, but the thing for us that's really happened is that we've been serving increasingly larger customers. So you take an average number like that, that represents a certain customer size, but we serve customers, Nathan, from 25 or 30 employees all the way up to, 10, 20,000 employees and more. So obviously like the involvement and the investment on both sides for a bigger engagement like that is pretty significant.
Of course.
And as we've grown and built the company, we're just engaging with a more global business, customer base and larger organizations. So
I totally understand you have all these different cohorts, which is great. You're able to span that spectrum. But when you look at kind of all your customers paying today relative to obviously revenues, is the average moved up from 18? Have you driven meaningful expansion revenue across the same base?
It has a bit, and part of that is also driven by we've rolled out new products. So last year we launched GreenHouse Inclusion, sort of our newest product, which is really around combating implicit bias and helping you measure the effect of your recruiting process on different groups. So customers are now buying CRM from us. They're buying employee onboarding. They're buying inclusion and doing other things with us beyond what they traditionally have. So all that stuff in conjunction is really leading to larger deal sizes and kind of just more stickiness and more impact.
That's good. We'll dive more into those products here in a second. But first, I want to try and get an accurate number here. So was 18 grand kind of average? Do you think it's close to like 25, 26 now today or more?
I don't know that I would be prepared to say.
Okay. But generally it's increased.
For sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The one way to obviously measure these increases is to look at how these new product launches have changed how your customer success reps drive retention on historical accounts, which then reflects itself in net revenue retention. Help me understand how who's in charge of getting your historical accounts active on new products? Or is it the AEs or the CSMs or what?
So we have an account management team, which is a sort of combo between customer success, and our AEs are really focused on new logos. Team for us is really in the intersection of those two, where they work with existing customers on not only renewals, but any new product sales that they want to talk about. And so we'll have conversations that start with a CSM, a customer success manager, or a customer success director, around a problem the customer is having or an opportunity they see, and then we'll pull in the account management team to run the sort of process and do paperwork and show product demo and have sort of new product expertise there as well. So it's a joint effort.
For a lot of these CEOs that I've talked to recently, call it in the $50 to $100 million range, a lot of them are experimenting with adding quota to CSMs who are only driving expansion revenue. Have you taken that plunge, or are you doing any extra incentives for your CSMs?
We're sort of going a different direction with it. So for the account management, the ones that are focused on really these expansion sales, absolutely. It's a very sales-minded team. For our customer success, we're actually moving them further towards mission-aligned metrics and less around financial aligned metrics. So if you think about GreenHouse, our mission is to help every company become great at hiring. If you're in our CS team, your job is to help your customers firstly become great at hiring. Ultimately, they should be renewing and buying new things and all that stuff as well. But your job is primarily make sure we're having that kind of impact. So we're aligning them much more closely around, as a customer is on GreenHouse longer, are your customers, Sally CSM, are your customers doing a better job of pinpointing the right talent, doing a better job of making hiring decisions, doing a better job with delivering good candidate experience as measured through our product.
Wait, yeah, Daniel. So I was going to say, you're basically quantifying kind of your activation metrics there, but you gave kind of high level number. Actually, quantify those for me. Does it sound like, hey, Sally, the CSM at GreenHouse, does your average account, place at least 300 jobs per month, where there's a minority of at least 30% women and 20% for with the new inclusion product? Like, how do you actually quantify these things?
Yeah, so basically our value is in kind of 4 quadrants. And so each quadrant has a little bank of metrics aligned to them. So there's a quadrant around candidate experience. And it's literally like there's a candidate experience survey that our product will automate. Yep. So the CSMs are now looking at, number one, are the customers using that product? Or is actual data, are they turning on the survey, they're collecting the data, are they looking at the data? And then are the trends going up?
Yep.
And so
measured by number of candidates that use that per month?
Measured by the candidate response. Basically, we send a survey to the candidate and we say, hey, you just interviewed for a job at Airbnb, rate us on basically give us a net promoter score. And then the customers use that data to identify opportunities to improve. They might see a certain team within their company where managers aren't getting back fast enough, or I was asked questions that were off-putting. They need that information to improve. So it's really about, is the number going up? Are candidates saying better things about you as a company? And so look at like operational rigor, using data to make decisions. Every area of their hiring funnel is measured in GreenHouse, and our CSMs are just aligning to putting that up. We haven't yet, though, Nathan, aligned like comp and incentive to that yet.
Yep.
That's
later on.
We've got that road mapped out. So once we have enough confidence the numbers are right and that we know the playbooks to move them all correctly, then we can align comp to it.
Real quick, name the other 3. So candidate experience, what are the other 3 quadrants?
So the first is pinpointing the best. Basically, like how quickly when I open a job can I get a list of really good candidates to interview for? So whether you're sourcing them or finding them internally or finding them through other channels. Candidate experience, decision making. So are you actually making smart decisions? Are you doing it quickly?
Okay.
And then operational rigor. Are you actually able to use data to adapt to changing conditions?
Okay, very good. So those are your 4 quadrants. Now, how many people total are on the team today? And then we'll go into how many CSMs.
At GreenHouse, the total company?
Yeah.
About 380.
380. Yeah. That's up significantly. That's almost double from 200 back in 2017. So that's good. Huh?
I said we've been busy.
Well, that either means you just increased your expenses significantly, or hopefully you also increased revenues at the same time. So it's a good hiring spree.
Yes, it's a good hiring spree.
Did you still have about 60 in the company, 60 million raised, or did you do another round?
We raised our Series D last summer. So I don't know if it was just after we talked, or when it was in relation to. But yeah, we raised a $50 million Series D in the middle of last year.
So about 110 in total.
You got it.
What are the metrics say on the Series D? So most CEOs that you talk to, are you seeing CEOs raise for 18 months burn or 24 or 36 months burn? What'd you kind of plan for?
It's kind of interesting when you talk to a Series D investor. It's very different than like the earlier stages. The earlier stages, there's kind of a dream, and you got kind of pie in the sky, and so you can kind of adjust your plan afterwards to whatever happens on the ground. At the time that you're at a company like ours and you're raising a Series D, it's a lot more like metrics driven, and there's like a sort of operating plan in place that they're just looking at and fueling the growth. So it's really
but on your side though. So on your side, like other CEOs I've spoken to, they said, yeah, Nathan, we raised 50. We think that's going to get us for the next 24 months, at which point we'll be break even again. Do you must look at that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I think I don't think that's necessarily changed. I think, whatever the time span is, you kind of estimate is like, whether it's 18 months or 36 months, that's the general time frame of those business plans. The thing I will say, the reason I'm not so precise about it is the phrase of planning is really valuable, but plans are useless. Like you don't know what's going to happen in the economy or competitively. And you don't know when we're launching a whole set of new products, like you have to see how they play out. So we'll see. What
I'm actually asking though is trying to get a sense of how comfortable you are sleeping at night with certain ratios of burn. So if you raise 50 million and you've only planned for 18 months runway, that would mean you're comfortable going up to 2.7 in terms of net burn million per month. I'm just trying to get a sense of how aggressive you're being in terms of burn.
I think we're pretty well controlled. Most of the investments that we're making are relatively controllable. So if we hire a little bit ahead of plan and let's say we don't do as well in a month or two of sales that we thought we would, you can kind of just grow through it because we're growing at a pretty decent clip. If On the other hand, like what happened this year, we're growing ahead of plan and you hire a few more people, the revenue is on the way. So you kind of can control that a little bit. It's not like we're making fixed capital investments in like 15-year building leases that we then have to hope the market buys. For example, to name other companies who may be higher flying.
Yeah. So when you say, obviously fast growth solves a lot of burn questions, right? So when you say you're growing fast over the past 12 months, you think you'll grow how much this year in 2019?
Yeah, I think we'll probably add close to 1,000 customers this year. I think that represents when you look at the increased deal sizes, approaching like 50% annual growth.
Okay, that's good. Now, obviously, you were probably growing more than that in prior years because you were multiplying smaller numbers.
It's math, man.
What was it though? I guess so. From 2017 to 2018, was it closer to 100%?
I'd have to go look. I'm not sure.
Okay, good. One of the things that I was trying to understand is people talk about the 3x, 3x, 2x, 2x, 2x kind of rule, but it's never actually exactly that rule. Everyone kind of has their own pattern. So I'm trying to capture your pattern. Before this 50% year, what was it before?
There's these rules and there's the rule of 40 and all these like rules of thumb. And I don't really honestly pay like a lot of attention to that. I look at like the fundamentals of our business, more like what's our ratios of like R&D to sales and marketing spend, like what's our like growth efficiency. And then to your point, like there are periods where we'll invest like pretty significantly. For example, this year we had a half dozen new initiatives that we launched. And so rather than looking at like a big lump of burn and like, oh, we're burning this much on a rule of thumb, we actually have like the ordinary like run the business, which is some amount of burn and growth. And then we have targeted investments. We're opening an office in Dublin, Ireland. We're building a professional services team. We're launching a distributed engineering team. And so there's like targeted investments that we've done in each of those areas that once they're made, they kind of are set. So it's not the same thing as like what's your burn rate of the company when you think about managing the business sustainably.
Yeah, I get that, but you have calculated it. You just have peeled the onion back a bit. There's your kind of burn to run the business, and then there's like your R&D burn, right? The burn that like you're taking controlled experiments on.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, very good. Well, so break down the team for me. So 380 people. How many are engineers today?
Engineering team's about 90.
Okay. And how many are like quota carrying reps?
So the sales team is just a similar size, maybe 90 to 100. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Okay. But they all carry quota or are CSM?
No. That's the whole sales team. I mean, you can look on LinkedIn and figure out whose job title is what.
I'm not going to do all that work, Daniel. I care about you, but not that much. So of the, you're talking about like 20 people on your sales team with quota or something like that?
Yeah, 20, 30, somewhere thereabouts.
Okay. And so you mentioned some variable stuff you're expanding into in terms of international kind of expansion, but when you look at just growing the core business in terms of where you're expanding, is a lot of that money going towards additional headcount, or no, it's towards international offices and things like this?
I'm trying to understand the question.
The question is, where you raised $50 million, you wouldn't take that dilution just to take the dilution because you're a smart guy. Where's most of that spend going towards? Where are you investing it? International expansion. Yeah,
international expansion. A bunch of additional R&D, both in terms of like, solving for enterprise customers and building, features for them, as well as continuing to innovate, building new products, investing in recent, products that we've launched like inclusion. And then there's just a bunch of the faster, as you know, like as you're growing fast, you have burn that you have to cover just to handle your growth. So we have like a 18 or 19 month payback on new customers. So every new customer you get, you have to be able to fund. And so that's a big part of it.
Yep. Has that payback generally gotten longer since you have more cash cushion over the past 12 to 24 months?
It's gotten better as gross margins, deal sizes have gotten better. Retention has stayed strong. So our CAC to LTV is improving. So good.
Well, CAC to LTV can be really good, but you can still widen your payback period. One's a measurement of time, one's a measurement of ratio, right? That's right. So I guess
in my mind, I was going down the whole layer cake, but
yeah. Well, so let me just role play here with you for a second. If you got an ACV of 20 grand, year one ACV is 20 grand. You're saying you're totally comfortable spending, what is that? $25,000 to get the customer up front.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And where will most of that be split across? Is there any direct paid stuff or it's mostly sales commissions?
Very dependent on the segment. So our SMB, like small business segment, is more marketing driven, and our larger enterprise business is more sales driven, which is a very typical thing. So you have a dinner at a fancy restaurant with 24 executives. That's mostly like that's about as much marketing as you can really do. Otherwise, they're not clicking on ads. or shopping on, G2 Crowd. Whereas for SMBs, like there's a lot of that kind of automated marketing and things that we do. So it's a bit of a split depending on that. Overall, at a basket level, it's more or less at any given time, half and half sales and marketing. But again, like that, you got to peel back the onion to understand like the workings of the different business pieces. They're quite
ignore customer churn because you have customers at all kind of different price points. So if we just talk about gross revenue churn over past 12 months, last time we came on in 2017, your answer was about 12%. Is it still about 12% or has it gotten lower?
It's gotten a little bit better. Yeah. So we're at like 90% retention, gross retention.
That's pretty good. And what's expansion on top of that? 20, 30% or?
Working towards that. Not there yet.
Okay. When do you think you'll break 100% net revenue retention?
We have plus 100% net revenue retention, but 90%, you asked plus 20 or 30%. Like, no, we're above that.
Well, yeah. So I'm categorizing. So basically what you're saying is right now you're between 10 and 20% expansion on historical accounts.
Right.
Why is it so? Don't be offended here, but I mean, at your scale, that's actually pretty low. I would see most companies at this ACV and at your scale, I'm assuming north of 30 million in ARR, you have like 120, 130 net revenue retention. Why aren't you there yet?
It's somewhat to do with the market. So we came into a pretty crappy market in the like applicant tracking software, like was never like a place anyone wanted to be. And we saw this really big opportunity. So we've entered in the market. Now, as you've seen, companies like LinkedIn and Google have come into the market, I think in recognition of the fact that the market is changing. But like the dynamics were the company bought an ATS once for not a lot of money. Maybe they renewed it over time, but like that was kind of it. And we're sort of expanding the pie and like, no, there's all this stuff you need to do to be great at hiring. And so it just takes time to change how the whole industry works.
That's good.
We'll get
You mentioned back in 2017, you'd passed about 2,000 customers at that point. You mentioned you're hoping to add another 1,000 here this year to get 50% year-over-year growth. How many customers are you serving now today actively?
I think today we're probably north of 3,500.
Okay, that's
I think
pretty good.
Probably end the year around 4,000.
Yeah, no, that's obviously great growth. And when you look at the total revenue growth year over year, what percent is coming from expansion on historical cohorts via cross-selling and things like that, your new products versus brand new revenue altogether? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of as we said. I mean, I think you have maybe 10 or 15% of it is for expansion.
Well, no, but that's on the historical cohort. That ignores all new revenue. I'm saying if you take all your new revenue you've added over the last year, what percent of that pie came from expansion versus new logos altogether? Do you know?
Oh,
it's okay. It's a tricky question. Yeah.
I'd have to have more fingers and toes than I have.
All right. And then look, I mean, can I do the math? 3,500 customers, $20,000 ACVs. That puts you north of $6 million a month right now in revenue. Is that about right?
It's more right than wrong.
I mean, do you have eyes on 8 million a month? Do you think you can do that this year or you have to wait till next year to do that?
No, we won't do that this year.
Next year reasonable?
Sure. We'll talk to you next year. Did
you raise any debt on the back of the 50 or is it pure equity?
No, it was pure equity.
Have you leveraged any debt for acquisitions or operations?
We have access to debt, but we haven't drawn any.
Who I always like asking who people like using for it. Do you just do the SVB basic thing?
I don't remember. I'd have to talk to my finance team.
Okay, but you haven't used it.
Yeah.
Any acquisitions on the horizon?
Nothing I'm prepared to talk about.
Anything you're excited about?
I'm excited about everything.
If you did acquire, would it be for a customer base, a tech stack, or a team?
I think it would be for like, you could say tech stack or product vision. That's kind of like the thing. Custom logos are what they are, but like if you have capabilities, that's to me the thing you should be building.
Not overlapping capabilities, but new capabilities that you're buying.
That's right.
Yeah, very good. All right, let's wrap up.
Like we did when we acquired Parklet. It was about a new capability, in that case, employee onboarding.
Yeah, what'd you buy them for?
Employee onboarding.
No, like what was the price?
We didn't disclose that.
You didn't disclose it. Was it all cash or was it a split, earn out, cash, stock?
We didn't disclose that.
Come on, that's an easy yes or no answer.
Yes.
All right, there we go. All right, Daniel, let's wrap up here with the famous five. Number one, what's your favorite business book?
My new favorite business book is the Alliance.
Number two is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Is there a CEO I'm following or studying? No.
Okay. Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building your company besides your own?
Google Slides.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
6 to 7.
Okay. Situation, married, single, kids?
Married, one kid.
One kiddo. And how old are you?
I just turned 46 Monday.
Oh, congratulations. Very good. Last question. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Don't bother getting a job. Just start your business.
Guys, GreenHouse.io is seeing some nice growth. Again, helping folks recruit smarter, better, and a more inclusive way, serving 3,500 customers today. Call it $20,000 ACV is around $6 million a month. Hoping to grow, obviously, year over year at, call it 30, 40, 50% as they look to obviously multiply bigger numbers. $110 million raised state, 380 folks on the team, 10% gross revenue churn with about, call it 10 to 20% expansion for a little over 100% net revenue retention as they look to cross-sell more of their products. Currently 18-month payback across most of their cohorts as they look to scale. Daniel, thanks for taking us to the top.
Thanks a bunch.